This week's episode of This Is Only a Test is brought to you by Milo. Meet Milo, a new distributed Wi-Fi system that works with your current router setup, extending Wi-Fi coverage to the far reaches of even, like the Dagobah system. With a simple mobile setup, Milo is ready to go in minutes. It uses Smart Seek technology to make sure your Wi-Fi performs where you need it most. Go to milowifi.com/test to learn more and use the discount code TEST to receive 10% off your system today, and thank them for supporting this week's episode.
Start the show, we should, yes?
For Thursday, February 1st, 2018, welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of This Is Only a Test. I'm Norm, joined by my two co-hosts, Jeremy Williams.
Hello.
And Kishore Hari.
Hello.
Oh, you are sinking into your beard, Kishore. For people watching the video, that is I came back from a country full of impressive beards, and you would fit well there.
This is not impressive yet.
It's well-groomed.
I got a ways to go. I've decided the best comb for my beard is my child's comb that he uses every morning to comb his hair. It just has that fine teeth that really gets in there and separates out the hair.
Nice.
And then a nice treatment of beard oil really makes a difference.
Wow. Combs at home with the kids? That would end in tears in my household. Has to be brushes, and a specific kind of brush that's very gentle.
Okay.
For both your kids? Yes. Wow.
Yes,
All right.
very sensitive.
Interesting. If you're watching the video, our set is it's even a little more different this week than it is last week. We got more lights. We got more lights. Hope you guys
There
like
are
it.
at least 4 lights.
At least, probably more LEDs.
It looks good.
There. Yeah, I'm very happy with it. And you guys got any big plans? How have you guys been this week?
Fine.
We
played badminton.
You played badminton. You guys are in a part of a secret society.
Yeah.
A secret society badminton club.
It's very
Is that what
deep
it is?
state,
Yeah.
this badminton group. To be fair, Jeremy played badminton. I swung at things and missed them a lot.
He had a few really good returns that shocked me. But I have a little more practice than you do. Been playing for a year and a half now, and I'm glad to have you on the team.
Wow.
You know what? Badminton, secretly fun. Secretly fun.
Wait, unexpectedly fun?
Unexpectedly fun.
Okay.
Because I prepped by watching some videos from badminton at the Olympics.
That's how you would prepare.
Oh, sure. I assume the best, Norm. I'm just going to enter at that level.
That's how it all started. Gary was watching badminton in the last Summer Olympics and tweeted, "I want to play badminton. Who's in?" And I answered the call. And then Danica answered the call. Will Smith answered the call, and now you have answered the call.
Look for our team, 2020, wherever summer, Beijing.
Yeah,
2020. Here we come.
I have been interested in playing badminton. I've been invited, but I've never made it out to actually play with you guys.
Is this a competitive issue?
No, it's just a timing issue.
Okay,
I just don't
great.
have the time.
I think everyone wants to
now.
see you and Will face off against each other in badminton.
We could sell tickets.
Just for the banter.
Are there short shorts? Is this what's the uniform?
It's whatever you want.
All right, I'm just imagining that photo of Trump. With
Yeah.
the golfing photo.
If you do come out and play with Will, my money is on he will put it on Twitch.
He would put on Twitch
Live.
I thought you were saying your money was on
100%.
he would destroy me because he has a year and a half of experience.
No, I'm just saying I don't think we would be the only ones betting. I think the internet at large would see this.
You might get cheered with 100 bits.
Do you guys do doubles, singles? What's the length of game that you guys play?
It's mostly until Danica stops hitting fierce shots at us. She was really wicked.
She's great. If this were a video game, I would play as Danica.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
She has
like Jumanji.
lightning reflexes.
Wow.
Also, you can.
I am
tell,
aware of her lightning reflexes.
You can tell she's visualizing somebody's face on the shuttle as she's hitting it too.
Jeez, maybe I don't want to be there. All right. Cool. Well, another sports ball news. This is a big week because it's the Super Bowl this weekend.
Are you ready for the New England Patriots to inevitably win another Super Bowl? And that's why I'm not that excited about the Super Bowl.
I don't know. I mean, don't the Eagles have a chance?
Yeah, because no.
I feel like this is the least eventful Super Bowl in a long time. Like, and I don't know if it's what it is about this year, but even the hubbub surrounding the Super Bowl, the commercials, the technology, all the cultural moments, it feels like it's been downplayed.
It does feel muted. And I don't think that's because the ratings are down, because they're not down that much. It just seems like the storylines are the same. There's nothing to center around. And I don't know. Do you think it's because NBC hasn't done a good job and they're distracted with the Olympics
with
coming
the
up?
Winter Olympics coming up? And I have no idea. I think we'll still be watching it. I am planning to attend your friend's party, a wing party that we talk about every year.
Co-host of this chicken wing party, which is the crucial part of Super Bowl weekend.
Totally.
And this year, I'm most proud. I used the Binging with Babish recipe to recreate the Rick and Morty Szechuan sauce.
The McDonald's Szechuan sauce, to be clear.
Very, very much so. He actually got a real sample of one of the packets that was sent to him.
Okay.
And recreated the sauce.
You're kidding.
I used that recipe to create a Szechuan wing sauce to be accompanied by Pickle Ricks.
Tiny Pickle Rick.
Not tiny. We're going full gherkin.
Full what?
Gherkins are
Have
tiny.
you
Wow.
tried like the fine detail of like trying to make a Pickle Rick on like a mini Cornish pickle? It's ridiculous. It's like I need.
So you have arms and rats and all sorts of body parts.
I needed to
graft on.
bring in like the Warhammer community. Be like, how do you paint and decorate this?
I cannot wait. What are the other? Any more hints on other wing flavors? Any special recipes?
We're trying to keep it a little bit more down the middle this year. So it's just some standard hot flavors, a habanero flavor. There's an apricot siracha making its comeback that I'm pretty excited about. There's some good flavors.
You're going to get the full report next week when we post Super Bowl, post wing
when
party.
Norm isn't here and he's just still out sick from salmonella. You'll get that's one review.
Yeah. And I guess the real big story this week, we're going to start off with our big story. Top story of the week. Hey, you can't run a flamethrower in that shower.
Elon shower.
I can't believe we're talking about this.
Is that your reaction to it all?
Yeah, that is my reaction to it
Sorry.
all.
Did you think it wasn't going to happen?
No, I knew it was going to happen. So Elon Musk, who is running the Boring Company, is doing perhaps more promotion for his Boring Company. This is something that he feels like he's having fun with than his other endeavors, SpaceX, Tesla, which are running operations and doing exciting things, genuine exciting things in electric cars and in rocketry.
Yeah, Falcon Heavy is actually slated to launch on February 6th. Big deal.
And yet his publicity stunts, what he's going to spend his time generating news on with his tweets is on the Boring Company, which is, of course, his company with a clever name, digging tunnels with the idea of digging a tunneling system in Los Angeles to ease transportation woes. And
I don't know if I would say he's spending time on this. This was simple. He tweeted.
He's spending tweets on
Was it December? In December, or November, he said, if we sell 50,000 hats,
and so he
Boring
initially did
Company
a
hats, then he said, if we do that, we will sell a flamethrower. And they succeeded in December in selling 50,000. And here we are, like a month later, and he's got a flamethrower in his hand.
He has a flamethrower that presumably was a third-party manufactured flamethrower branded the Boring Company.
Yes. That
he's selling for $500. He said there will be 20,000 of these available. As of this recording, there are 19,000 sold. 19,000 of you out there spent $500. And let's say by the time this comes out, maybe all 20,000 will have been sold. That's what? That's $1 million.
It doesn't seem like that much money for a flamethrower. I have never priced them out.
And I think that's what got people excited about this idea.
$10 million.
$10 million. I'm sorry. $10 million in flamethrower revenue. And people have now written stories about regulations on flamethrowers and the different categories of flamethrowers.
A California congressman tweeted back saying that this is insensitive given the California wildfires.
No shit, Kishore, that this is insensitive given the wildfires in both northern and southern California, Elon Musk. And yes, I think you can spend whatever you want on whatever you want. It's your money. $500 for some people may not be a lot of money. For some other people, maybe a ton of money. But to indulge a billionaire by spending $500 on a device that, let's be honest, you most likely will not use more than a handful of times and has no practical use in day-to-day living, except to say that you were part of this Twitter promotional scheme to get the Boring Company $10 million in revenue, I think it's not a great use of money.
I think it's fun and not that big of a deal. I mean, I think it's stupid that it costs $500. I think somebody costed out the parts to build this, and it's probably about $50 worth of stuff in there. So maybe you're like, oh, should be sold for like $150, but I think it's silly and stupid and a little bit fun, and I'm kind of fine with a billionaire being fun for once rather than being straight boring all the time, which is what we're used to.
Is it boring?
I know, that was clever.
I am with Kishore on this one. It's going to be a fun way to light the charcoal at your cookout. It's going to get a laugh. It's worth $500 to a lot.
No.
To a lot of people.
It's not worth it. And I think starting off with, whoa, sounds cheap. $500 sounds cheap for a flamethrower. $50 in parts, Jeremy.
It doesn't look like that for $50 though. It looks cool. I'm not ordering one. I'm just saying that if you look back at the archives of tested.com, I'll bet you could say the same thing about any number of the things we have raved about on this show.
I completely agree. Many things. I've spent $500 on things in the past 2 months that many people would deem frivolous.
Yeah.
But I also think that for a billionaire to do this in our current, with what happened the past year, I think was maybe the timing was not great.
Okay, fine.
And I would have appreciated if he had thrown some money toward fire relief.
He might yet.
I that's what I'm pushing toward. Please put some of this. He doesn't need the $10 million. The Boring Company probably doesn't need the $10 million. Put some of that toward helping fight the wildfires in Southern California.
He's gotten out of it what he wanted, which is more buzz.
Attention. Exactly. Yeah. He's gotten more than $10 million worth of attention, and which we're giving to him. I'm happy to give him that attention if he'll put some money toward some wildfire relief. That's my challenge to you, Elon Musk. Please do it. Are we done with it?
Yes.
We're done? All right. We're done. I lied. We're not done. I had one more thing to say about it.
You ordered one?
Does it?
You ordered one out of spite?
That would be the biggest twist. I ordered one. No.
Does it involve flames?
The reference. The reference, which some people may not have gotten. The redeeming reference for this is that it is a Spaceballs reference.
Yeah. That's it?
That's what I want to make sure.
All right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. I'm ready to move on. We don't need to play that bumper again.
Wait, as was the plaid from his Tesla new Roadster announcement.
What was it?
It goes to plaid.
Oh, right.
So he's all about Spaceballs.
Yes. Yeah. Is that we can look to the movie for future promotional activities?
I just want to know if they have an employee lounge where it's just playing on a loop. Because he's so invested in this movie.
I watched that recently with my son because I thought, comedies, sci-fi.
Sure.
But it was not good. It does not hold up. It does not hold up.
Totally holds up.
Does not hold up. Now, if you want a Mel Blanc film that does.
Mel Blanc.
Mel Blanc.
Not Mel Blanc. Mel Brooks. You want Young Frankenstein.
Yeah.
That's a fine film.
Yes.
Holds up very well.
I will say Blazing Saddles I saw recently does not hold up. Yeah, that really doesn't hold up.
Yeah, no. That one hasn't held up for a long time. Yeah, artifacts of their time. Speaking of movies, new movies. We got a couple trailers out this week that I want to discuss. We have our first look at Ant-Man and the Wasp. And again, this is a whole downplaying of the Super Bowl. This is a movie trailer that I would have assumed would have popped up during the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But instead, just popped online the week before. And what'd you guys think? It's set in San Francisco. They were filming it here sometime late last year. Filming is wrapped, and we're getting the story of not just Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, but also Evangeline Lilly as the Wasp.
Oh, they finished off the building.
I know.
Got rid of the scaffolding.
That was my tweet. It's like, where did all the construction cranes go? The very opening shot of the trailer is the San Francisco skyline with all our construction wrapped up. The big 2 towers that are being built right now completed. Yeah.
I have to admit, and this is weird coming from me since I'm such a Marvel honk, maybe I'm starting to enter some Marvel fatigue because this didn't do it for me. It was a fine trailer.
What?
But I didn't leave like super excited. I mean, the effects are really cool. There's a lot of shrinking and embiggening that happens in this movie, which is wonderful. But I'm not clear what I'm not clear that there is a reason, like some sort of continuation of this story that I'm super excited about from the first one.
Oh, what about once having the Wasp? The big
that's great.
The big teaser from the end of the last film was it's time. It's about time. And previously we've really only had Black Widow and Evangeline Lilly as the Wasp. I think looks kick-ass, and some of the action sequences they have in the trailer look amazing. The thing I think what you might be feeling as someone who's been built up with so much anticipation for Infinity War is, at least from this trailer and even some of the first movie, the Ant-Man series for Marvel seem like the least connected in their intertwined Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yes, there's references to Stark, and yes, there are some cameos in the first film, but and yes, Ant-Man of course was in Civil War, but this looks like it has nothing to do with the Infinity Gauntlet, nothing to do with Infinity Gems. It seems like a standalone action comedy that is in its own its own world.
I'm actually totally fine with that, but I still think these movies are built around villains, and we didn't get any sense of who the villain was in this movie.
We got one shot of the villain.
Yeah.
But yes.
We got one visual shot of the villain, but but no setup for that villain.
Correct.
At all.
Yeah. What's the danger? Is it more business intrigue? Don't know. There's a really cool shot in the trailer where they shrink a building. That was a really good sight gag.
So what's the deal with the Wasp? I didn't watch the first film. I started it and I just didn't finish it. But
it's a pretty good movie.
It's great. I think it's underrated.
I'm gonna watch it, but
it's hugely underrated.
Is the deal between the difference between Paul Rudd and the Wasp that the Wasp actually has wings and can fly?
Character power-wise,
yeah.
The Wasp can fly and also has blasters. It's basically a way more powerful version of Ant-Man. But it's not about the powers that defines these heroes. It's more about what they are outside of the powers.
Yeah.
Right? Where Ant-Man is a criminal. Recruited by Michael Douglas, Hank Pym, to put on the suit because Hank Pym was Ant-Man in World War II, and he's passing on. So it's actually there's a legacy effect to this. And then, of course, there's the whole family relationship because the Wasp is played by Evangeline Lilly, who's Hank Pym's daughter, right? So it's about how she should have been the one to put on the suit and be the successor to Ant-Man.
Daddy issues.
And the whole family issues because he didn't want to put her in danger because he lost his wife. And so the original idea was the Ant-Man and the original Wasp were a team, and the Wasp got lost in the microverse or whatever they call it, shrunk down too small, could not recover. And so he didn't want to put their daughter through that. And so he got a criminal instead, a lovable criminal in Paul Rudd.
Now, this movie I'm not hyped about, but Black Panther I feel very differently about.
They had the premiere. Black Panther is coming out in 2 weeks or so. The reviews are supposed to be up next week, but they've already had. I like how PR control, so Disney PR or whatever movie studio PR control over the perception of the film, because they can control their ad spending and their marketing, but they control embargoes for the reviews, which are now separate from Twitter embargoes.
What?
Yeah.
Twitter embargoes means just posting your reaction. That's a thing.
That's a thing. The PR representatives will, if you work in movie reviews or movie blogging and you're invited to screenings, they'll make you sign NDAs like so to not be able to publish a review, your written, official, scored review,
Everyone in
your
the door?
institutionalized review. I mean, whoever's invited to that screening.
That's been going on for a long time.
Sure, and it's common practice, and it's the give and take relationship between press and the powers that be, the handlers, but now they've tiered that up, and so they've said like your review, New York Times or LA Times, can't come out until this date, and usually the date is a good indicator of the feeling of the quality of the film. If the review can't come out until the day of release, then maybe not so good. But if they're going to allow the reviews to come out a week before release, then maybe they're feeling pretty good about the film. But now they're saying like, okay, your review can't come out until a week before the movie comes out, but you're allowed to tweet spoiler-free impressions on Twitter. 140 characters, or I guess more now, 280 characters on Twitter, which doesn't constitute a review.
It's weird.
But it gets people excited nonetheless and buying tickets.
It's
so we have that right now.
It was like those tech journalists that got the iPhone 10 ahead of time. Like they couldn't post a review. They couldn't write a review. But they could post their impressions. They could let people know what they thought.
It's all semantics. It's the same. It's just ways like... It's just ways the PR machine tries to control the conversation.
I totally get that. And the reactions were positive.
How positive?
Very. I don't know. Like, is there a meter for Twitter reactions?
There was one Twitter impression, and I guess Twitter is a great medium to not post a full review, but like to share anecdotes about like reactions. And one attendee for the premiere said that the best review he could give is that the person he sat next to was Lawrence Fishburne, and all Lawrence Fishburne was doing throughout the film was saying, "Oh shit." Oh shit.
That is a pretty good review.
Non-review impressions.
Yeah, that's a pretty good impression. I'm hyped about this movie because it feels so different from
totally
everything that we've seen so far from the universe, and that has me totally hyped. Plus, I super duper want to see Wakanda on screen because the mythical city that has all of this incredible technology, I want to see how they realize that on the screen. And then, frankly, even though I'm going Infinity Stone hunting again, this movie fundamentally probably is enclosed. Mm-hmm. It's not about the larger connection, and I think that's wonderful for this universe to have.
As a comic book fan, this feels very much like 2008 before the first Iron Man came out, where comic book fans felt like they had this secret. Like, we knew back then how awesome Iron Man as a character was, and the world at large didn't, and we're ready to share that with the world, like, excited for the mass audience to fall in love with that character, and that, you know, the comic book writers had built up over decades of writing. We're feeling that right now with Black Panther. It's like we got a taste of Black Panther and how awesome that persona is in Civil War, and definitely stole the show. And now we're actually going to get to share the world of Wakanda with non-comic book readers.
Plus, we get Bilbo and Gollum back together. The gang's back together.
Yes.
Is Black Panther a big character in the comics?
Sure.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Sure. And Black Panther, especially recently, like Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote Black Panther. He did a run. And so they've always tried to experiment with that character a little bit more than with others. And it's undergone a really wild evolution over the years because our relationship with race has changed dramatically since when that character first came out, in the 60s.
Movie looks good. Cannot wait.
I'm going full Joey Blackout now, though.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to see anything.
It's kind of late for that.
Yeah, 2 weeks out before
But there's going to be commercials during the Super Bowl.
Totally. Yeah. No, well, probably not for Black
Too
Panther. The movie's coming out way too soon. Awareness is already at its peak. I think they'd rather spend the money on promoting a movie. It might be Infinity War, getting people amped up about that. Yeah, that one makes more sense. Speaking of trailers for Paul Rudd films, there was another movie trailer out this week starring Paul Rudd.
No.
And this is a Netflix film. It's a film called Mute, and it's the next film by Duncan Jones, director of Source Code and Moon. It's part of his Moon trilogy.
You're kidding.
I'm not kidding.
Straight to Netflix?
Wow.
Netflix bought the rights. It's this just like for The Bright, the Will Smith movie and David Ayer's film, as opposed to getting distribution over traditional channels in theaters.
Wow.
Netflix got the rights to Bright, and the trailer is out. I don't want to spoil it because it is. It looks like there's a lot of mystery in the film. Aesthetically, it's clearly influenced by Blade Runner. And if you follow Duncan Jones on Twitter, he's been sharing some great poster art and some great images.
Paul Rudd.
Paul
Yeah.
Rudd.
Is it a comedy?
No. He has an amazing mustache, though. It's kind of like this alternate future where like it's 30 years in the future in Berlin, but there are three main actors in it. It's Paul Rudd. It's what's his name from The Leftovers, and Alexander Skarsgård.
Justin Theroux.
That's right. Justin Theroux, Paul Rudd, and Alexander Skarsgård.
Yeah, my interest level went from thinking you left me a quiet little note to mute my audio
No.
to 11.
Yes. There you go.
This is great.
Yeah.
When's it come out?
It comes out next 2 weeks.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Standard
it's
Netflix.
right?
Here it
Saw
is.
the trailer, or it's in February. February. It's gonna get your.
February
TV.
is dystopian future for Netflix because we get Altered Carbon too. So like,
Yeah.
which
I'm
you know,
excited for this.
We talked about like I hope they do that right, but wow, this looks incredible. And don't think Paul Rudd when you hear us talk about this. This is not Paul Rudd down the middle stuff. This is definitely seems on the fringes of Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
Wait, the director made Warcraft too? I didn't
Yeah,
know
Duncan
that.
Jones did
I
Warcraft.
had no
Yeah.
idea.
He did Moon, and then
Moon
Source
is
Code
great.
was as his first studio film. Then went full blockbuster with Warcraft, and then now going back to his roots with indie film style with Mute. And he says it's part of a 3-movie trilogy. I'm not sure if it's a shared universe, but like thematic post like dystopian future trilogy. Yeah. So I'm a big fan, and I can't wait to watch this film. And I'm glad this is a movie. I'm really glad it's on Netflix. So that it's a perfect movie for me to turn and throw on the TV and watch. So you can if you have Netflix, just add that to your bookmark. You mentioned Altered Carbon. You guys did discuss that while I was out.
Yeah, the trailer came out. We discussed it that week. I mean, it's basically Blade Runner, the series, right? In a lot of ways. I mean, it's
with the big sci-fi conceit of immortal humans.
Exactly, but you know, we wake up a detective to go, you know, hunting in this very Blade Runner looking universe.
Yeah.
I think the architecture of that is there, and it's at least the trailer sets up this mystery. As far as I knew, it's an original story, right?
Adaptation.
Oh, an adaptation.
It is an adaptation of a novel, I want to believe. But the big thing for and I don't know if it's considered casting controversy, but Joel Kinnaman plays the lead, and the idea is that he is the character is Japanese, and they write it into the story, and it's in the book too, where the body they put him in. So the idea is humans live forever because your consciousness can be moved from body to body, and so people who are rich they never die because you just put your consciousness in a new body when you get old. And the detective who has investigated a murder of one of the richest men in the world, I suppose, hired by that person in his new body, he himself is in a body that he does not recognize because he's in Joel Kinnaman's body, a white man's body, when his past bodies have all been Japanese, his identity. And so there will be flashbacks. I think Will Yoon Lee, who is in The Wolverine, plays the version of him before. And so there's a lot of interesting performances they could go with, like in terms of how their identity manifests, and having multiple people play essentially the same character. So I'm interested in it. They spent a ton of money on this. They really wanted this to be their big flagship sci-fi show, and so
Hope it works.
I'll give it definitely give it a couple episodes in. Let's talk more about Marvel movies, but some of the tech behind Marvel movies.
There's more?
I thought this was super interesting. You guys all saw Thor?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite moments in Thor was the flashback sequence for the Valkyries. It's the sequence where you see Tessa Thompson with her other fellow Valkyrie fighters.
Fantasy looking scene, almost like mythic in its sort of nature, and it's also
Hela.
Yeah, and it's also like lit and shot in a very different cinematic way than the rest of the film.
So one of the reasons, and it's in the trailer, one of the reasons I thought the shots of that scene, which are like at most 30 seconds, was so striking is because it looked like a painting, it looked like a Renaissance painting, high contrast chiaroscuro style painting brought to life in movement. And my brain couldn't reconcile how they achieve that look.
Computers.
Yeah, that was my initial thought too.
It wasn't computers. It was all practical.
Shut up.
Which was super cool.
You're kidding.
And so this is what they did. Taika Waititi posted some.
Well, wait,
some,
hang on. Pegasuses aren't real.
No.
Yeah, so yeah.
Amazing.
The horses, the Pegasus were computers. The landscape, the weapons were computers, but the actors were real. They actually shot it. They wasn't all just a pure CG scene. And this is one of those things where, like, you have to, in analyzing what made this look so awesome, is what they did was the movement of the light. So not only did they shoot this in high speed, which people have shot in high speed, like, you know, going back to in action sequence like this, like 300 is a good example of a slow-mo sequence, slow-mo action sequence. They combined a choreographed action sequence with moving high contrast lights, very high key lights.
Oh, that's interesting.
Areas.
Yeah, because of the slow-mo, you would have to move those lights very quickly.
Exactly. So if you look at Taika's Twitter account, he actually tweets a technology test they did years before the release of the film in terms of the when they were researching the look. And I'll show this to you right now. He says the Satellite Lab was the name of the company, and he could make anything look dramatic by running these strobe lights, or not strobe lights, but these moving lights at very high speed, and then combining that with high-speed cameras to create this just amazing, painterly effect.
It's a scene of him jumping, but the real interesting part for me is there's a water droplet above the ground, and you can see the light moving, the shadow moving across it to give you the idea of how fast the light is moving. And according to this article, it's moving 10,000 feet per second, which is like 7,000 miles an hour. So
I don't know about that, the light moving that fast.
That's what they claim in the article. You know it must be like on this rotational shutter. So it must.
But the fact that when you're playing that back at high speed, to get those long shadows cast across your face, moving slowly across, just creates a sense of drama that I hadn't seen before. So I really appreciated them dissecting how that scene, like, connecting the dots in my brain for why that scene resonated so much.
That's really cool. I'm glad you brought that to our attention.
And similarly, ILM had a post, actually this is in the summer when they first talked about it, but the scene in Last Jedi. Did we talk about this last week?
What?
The Last Jedi, you know, the big Holdo moment? Mm-hmm. Right? And why that was so impactful. And
I always thought it was because of the audio. Like,
that's
they
what
shut it up,
I think
right?
that was it. So a little bit of I think we're okay to talk spoilers, right, about Last Jedi at this point, right? A month, after a month after release, it's made 1.3 billion. Turn off your audio for 1 minute if you don't want to hear this, if you haven't seen it yet. But when she crashes her ship into Snoke's capital ship and all the other Star Destroyers, yes, the audio goes off, and it's a very intense moment, but it's not just the audio going off that gives it that power. It's the lighting. It's 100% the lighting. And if you go frame by frame on what happens in that sequence, the moment her ship hits the Star Destroyers, the exposure on the camera, the virtual camera they use to render that scene, stops down multiple stops, so that all the Star Destroyers are dark. It's not because the lights on the Star Destroyers are off because they're disabled. It's because they stopped it down, and so the effect of the light, the light speed, hyperdrive light passing through the ships is accentuated, and all the ships become backlit by that destruction, that debris.
It's visually amazing.
It is visually amazing. It goes by fast, though.
Very fast.
In the theater. So it's, you just know, like, it's a resting moment because of that. And mostly you notice the audio shift.
Right. But the
visuals,
the visual shift is totally the thing that sold it.
From a storytelling standpoint, it's stupid. It's really dumb. It's really dumb.
You think it breaks Star Wars?
If this was a thing that happened, everyone would be aware of it. Everyone would be concerned about it. Everyone would be doing it all the time. This is dumb.
We're not going to jump into this discussion.
It's dumb.
Hey, Jeremy, why are there pilots inside the X-wings?
Because Elon Musk didn't design them.
Why can't the droids just fly the X-wings?
I think this just reinforces something that Han told us years and years ago, that you don't just jump into hyperspace without making careful calculations.
Exactly,
This is all about math.
Yeah, fly right through a star.
It's written in the text. Well, let's talk about things that may or may not be dumb, the Star Wars related. How can a spaceship be a spaceship and a robot at the same time, Jeremy?
Oh my goodness! I was going to the. I was like, how are you getting to Tom Hanks from this? Now, apparently they made this 10 years ago, and I didn't know about it because I was grown up. But you will now be able to buy again Transformers in the Star Wars universe, like legit Transformers from Star Wars. In fact, the one that they are launching, which is a relaunch from 10 years ago, is a Millennium Falcon that transforms not just into Han Solo, but a robot Han Solo, and not just Han Solo, but a robot Chewbacca.
You're okay with this?
What?
Yeah.
It's unnecessary.
I'm not okay with this.
Okay, good.
Why am I okay
I
with
was like,
this?
that'd be really.
No, and those are two of my precious, license, whatever they are, properties. I loved the Transformers. I love Star Wars, but I don't need to see them combined like this into robots. I don't
Robot
know.
Han Solo.
10 years ago, you could buy this, and now they're bringing it back. You could also buy Slave One.
So there's only one Falcon.
Yeah,
And the Falcon splits into two
exactly.
robot toys.
Yeah,
And the
Chewbacca and Han
only
Solo.
way you can tell it's Chewbacca is that the joints are round.
No, I mean, Chewbacca head comes out of it.
Yeah.
There's a head, but
And
like
he gets a
it's
bowcaster.
still okay.
It's $130,
very loosely call that Chewbacca.
I think, for this
That's
toy.
not worth it.
What do you think?
No.
I mean, they had to pay both
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 licenses.
companies. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, I suppose.
Oh, Transformers licensed it too? It's not
I
just...
believe so. As I
Oh.
understand it, you cannot make a transforming Transformer unless you are first party. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that they made the Kessel Run searching for Energon. I mean, I like that rewrite of the...
That's good.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. No, I will not be buying this.
$135. No, you'll be donating to the fires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, our last bit of pop culture news. Our Tom Hanks story of the week. It's casting news. Tom Hanks is cast as Fred Rogers.
Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, that's Mr.
I'm sorry,
Rogers.
Mr. Fred Rogers.
Has there ever been
in
a
biopic?
a better casting in the history of Hollywood? I say no. This is perfect. Pitch perfect. I can't imagine a better Mr. Rogers. Now, obviously, Tom Hanks is notoriously nice. He's a nice guy. He's got that going for him. He looks the part.
Will his Tom Hanksness get in the way?
That's the thing. The only thing I wonder about is his energy level. Like he can get a high pitch. He can get kind of excited. He can be a different kind of character. Mr. Rogers is mellow. He's chill. So we'll have to see.
I mean, he's an actor. He's a professional. So I think he'd do that.
Tom Hanks.
I'm
great.
more about like, will it be distracting? It's like Tom Hanks playing Walt Disney. I found that maybe a little bit too distracting. Two iconic characters, or iconic actor playing an iconic persona.
You'd rather see a nobody?
I'd rather see a nobody capture the role.
The other direction.
Yeah.
When's the last time Tom Hanks played a fictional character?
Yeah.
He doesn't do it anymore.
That's a really good question. I'm like, Bridge of Spies. That was
No, that's a real
true
person.
story. Yeah.
Splash.
Yeah.
Castaway.
Castaway, based on a true story. The true story of Wilson and his friend. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Have you talked about who's directing it? When's it coming out?
I want to know who's Mr. McFeely. Speedy delivery.
I'm getting period Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in this.
Wow.
Where Mr. Rogers is from.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, how about that?
All right, let's talk about some tech.
Oh, I got it right on. All right, here we go. Okay, fine. It's not going to happen. I don't know why it's not playing.
Hey, iOS users, there is a new update coming soon for your iPhones if you bought the iPhone 10. It's 11.3, and Apple did something interesting. They released some pre-release notes about what you could expect in 11.3.
Well, isn't the beta out?
I guess the beta, yeah. You're right. The beta is out.
So you have an iPhone 10.
I do.
And you have kids. And if you were the same person, you'd be very happy about this news.
Why?
It has a feature.
As a feature, family purchases are now approvable via Face ID.
Oh, that's wonderful.
You don't know what it. Yeah, if the kids want to buy an app, and I have to make approvals, which is a great idea. I love that Apple does.
You can
this.
just frown anytime you're making an approval.
I can look at the phone rather than type in my whole password. So yes, thank you. They worked with Touch ID forever, and then they apparently did not make it compatible with Face ID. I'm glad they're bringing it back.
Some other features, of course, the big thing is this is the version of iOS that will now implement a toggle for you to disable the auto power management, something Apple is still grappling with. And there are still lawsuits filed against them because of the lack of transparency about this feature. But it's ostensibly a feature that you can find your settings for the iPhone 6, 6 Plus, the SE, all the new ones that will let you turn off CPU throttling. So what's going to happen? Are phones going to overheat? Are you going to actually get better performance? And is your battery life, would your battery, I mean, we're going to see in a few months whether battery is actually affected.
Tim Cook said, I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
He's telling you not to do it.
Wow.
They're opening it up.
A big concession. Giving people what they want, what they demanded.
You asked for it.
You asked for it, and then people are going to complain that their phones are dying or their phones are overheating.
I can't wait for the "I told you so" keynote.
Yeah,
later this year.
I think it's great. That's exactly what it should do. I love this idea because
you think would rather people suffer and.
They're not going to suffer. They're going to suffer at their own. It's going to be off. It's going to be opt-in.
I don't think that users who opt in are still going to feel happy if their phones are free. They'll find it's another thing to complain about.
There's a lot of users. There's going to be quite a number of them.
And they will feel like, well, why don't you make a bigger phone or a replaceable battery? Like, where does the concession stop?
Look, as an Android user, this feels like normal to me to have that kind of control. It feels very un-Apple-like.
Yeah, they got pushed into it. They didn't want to do this.
Yeah, so anything that's un-Apple-like is not going to feel native to your experience on the phone. I think it's going to make your experience worse.
Yeah, maybe they'll bury it way, way deeper somewhere in accessibility. Along these same lines, Apple didn't announce anything, but it is supposed, and I think it has been confirmed by two parties now, that the next iOS will be a snow leopard style OS.
Not big features.
No, they have taken the big features planned for this year and pushed them to 2019.
Why do you think that is?
In order to concentrate on efficiencies and updating and getting everything smooth as it should be.
Good on them. I think focusing on performance and
So
reliability feels right.
The reports are that the big changes would have been a refresh to the home screen.
Whatever that means.
Whatever that means.
Yeah.
Okay.
But some of the fixes would be health features, parental controls, and maybe some augmented reality improvements.
Well, they did say that there are some big changes coming, but they're only the ones that were aimed at the keynote that they were going to talk about. All the other features that they weren't going to even spend time promoting, they're just shelving.
I think you have plenty of time on the AR improvements. They don't need to rush those out.
And typically the cadence of their software / hardware release is that you get new hardware, which has a new processor in the fall, and then the following summer when the new OS comes out, it actually taxes the hardware a little more. And so maybe they don't want to do that this year because there are already fears about performance slowdowns. And so iOS 12, with those big changes that they're now pushing to 2019, that would have slowed down phones even more.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, I don't think many people are using HealthKit in the way that Apple's wanted them to. But I have to admit, I was really excited about them opening up electronic health records through this update, and I hope that doesn't get pushed off too far, because the idea of being able to go to certain providers, get your health data directly from them, and have it encrypted and available on your phone, that's something that we can't do right now. We can't access our own medical records in an easy way, and I think that could revolutionize, well, maybe not revolutionize, it's too strong a word. I think it could help push the medical industry in the right direction.
And that was slated for this year's iOS?
Other thing is that there are many reports of the iPhone. Like last week, it was iPhone 10 being canceled, and this week it's iPhone 10 being a huge sales disappointment, and Apple cutting production by 50% of the iPhone 10, and from forecasts.
Well, we know
which
it's
may or
true.
may not be true.
We know it's true that they have underperformed in China.
Yes,
There's been a lot of reports about that.
Right. But the question is, did the strategy of having two flagship phones, essentially, the 8, 8 Plus, and 10, did that hurt them? And was it what about this strategy hurt sales? Was it indecisiveness because people didn't know which one to buy, and so there was no clear best phone? Was it the pricing, or was it removing Touch ID and putting Face ID? Which of the things are the things that are going to affect Apple's strategy going forward, and change the release plans for this year?
Wait, what are the complaints in China? Do we know why they didn't buy the iPhone 10? I mean, my honest to God hope is that it has something to do with the headphone jack. Like, I want to see them bring that back.
I think the most natural, I haven't heard. I mean, the most natural reaction I'd have is that it's really freaking expensive.
It's very expensive.
And I think, at least here in the U.S., I think there's a mental hurdle about getting to that $1,000 mark.
Yeah.
Going from 800 to 850, even to 900, that's a big leap, but like something about crossing that $1,000 barrier.
I think there's also in both countries and in many areas the wave of perception, bad news gets propagated and can have a huge effect on sales. Like, so one report last week of the 10 being canceled this year in for 2 new models, and the way those are reported massively propagated, and people assume the 10 is a huge failure. And that can deter their long-term plans for Face ID and giving Face ID a chance in integration with, maybe changes their strategy of putting Face ID into laptops or their iMacs, or maybe it doesn't. But your reports of Face ID not being able to tell the difference between some parents and children, and spinning that story as the technology is insensitive or is racist, that can also propagate and can lead tons of people to just not buy the phone or not give it a try. I think we see the same happening in like VR all the time. They're budding technologies that many people who haven't used them have impressions about them because bad news gets headlines.
Yeah.
Moving on, we talked about health, and many people are wearing health trackers and GPS trackers, and this may be becoming a problem for even the government. What's the story about?
So I didn't know about this company Strava until this.
It's
this
because
hit.
we don't run.
I certainly don't run.
You guys play badminton.
Yeah, but I don't move like it. Because what Strava does is it actually tracks your position using satellites.
Got it.
In badminton, that's going to be minimal. So they've been around since 2009, and they run a mobile app, and they have a website, and
People use it for biking and running.
Yeah, that's basically it. So they can see where they went. And they uploaded a map of the world, all of their users, an insane number, millions and millions of data points that create these lines all over the world. And what's interesting is like these are just lines people used or run on when they go to exercise, but they revealed all kinds of things that maybe the governments wouldn't want you to see, such as military bases.
Yeah, people running on military bases in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Now, for the most part, these were bases everybody already knew about, but they just weren't confirmed or discussed and talked about by the government. But yet, there they are, including Area 51.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Real place.
So it's interesting. It's just an interesting, oopsie on the part of a technology company.
Yeah, and there's a lot of inferences you can make, with technology, where power grids are, where signals, Wi-Fi signals are, and GPS data is just another one of those things. Yeah, I'm sure it's something they've considered or have contingencies for, but there's only so much you can lock down in terms of how people what the essentials are.
The same thing, Google Maps and all the mapping companies went through. They have always found things and posted, on their mapping software that they shouldn't have, or at least according to the governments.
What is the policy on that? Can the government request Google to black out or blur out certain parts?
Privy to that rule, but I imagine that's true. I have to imagine that that's true. They get rid of anything they want. Google Earth started its life as a government corporation called Keyhole.
Right. Speaking of government folly, so we talked a couple weeks ago about what happened in Hawaii, right? And the false missile alert, and what we thought the initial reports were that this happened because it was a UI problem, user experience, UI design problem.
It was a user problem, but it wasn't a user experience problem.
We thought they hit the wrong button.
We thought that the drop-down menu, it was a drop-down menu. At least it was described to us as a drop-down menu system where the missile test and the real missile alert were right next to each other, and it was very easy to perhaps click one instead of the other.
I like this. We assumed the best
Yes, we assumed it was a design problem
of the person. Yeah.
as opposed to a user problem. And now the FCC investigation into what happened says that it was actually the false alarm was because the employee actually thought the drill was a real missile crisis. Miscommunication and misinterpretation.
Wow.
It also describes this employee as being problematic in their ability to understand drills from real world scenarios. And I don't know if that's just throwing that employee under the bus or something else, but it really points to this picture of this employee being a bigger issue than the actual design of the system.
Right. Yeah. It's unfortunate. There's got to be better systems. I mean, it's good to have a person in place, but it's maybe some reevaluation or retraining is needed.
This is just the Occam's razor. It's like this story, and we wanted it to be a design story, but it was really just a human being, human.
Yeah. Do you guys read the story about the Pornhub statistics that came out after this?
Oh, yeah, where the site stats changed.
The site stats? This was pretty incredible. So for the half hour, and what was it? January 13th was when the false alarm was hit, was released. And Pornhub, the porn website.
You don't need to explain what it is.
Let's give them some context. Issued stats that say their traffic dipped to down 77% minutes after the alarm was issued. So the missile alert was issued at 8:07 a.m. and it was like a terrifying 38 minutes between that and 8:45. So it dipped about 80%, 77% at around 8:30 in that morning. So as people were freaking out, people were logging off porn
at 8:30 in the morning.
At 8:30 in the morning.
All right.
By a tune of 77%. And so I think Trevor Noah on Daily Show did a big gag piece about this, and his takeaway was that meant that 23% of the users, with the world potentially ending in Hawaii, and this is just localized Hawaii traffic, 23% of users were like, F it.
Yep.
Let's continue.
Let's keep going.
Let's keep going. But to me, I don't read it that way, because maybe they didn't get the alert, right? Maybe they didn't get the alert on their phone. Maybe they didn't know. They had no idea. They were in bliss.
Yeah.
They had no idea.
That's not as funny.
But to me, the funny thing is what happened after, and this is not talked about as much, is after the false alarm issue statement, their traffic jumped way above normal.
Oh.
To 50% above normal.
Glad to be alive, endorphins.
that's the part of the story that's found hilarious. Was that the first reaction to, whew, we're all safe, is, well, I guess let's log on.
By the way, math makes all these sites better. One of the best reads for the longest time was the math. They had a staff mathematician at OkCupid that would do analysis of different matching patterns. And it was really deep analysis, and it was really interesting. I wish more sites hired a staff mathematician and just blogged about what they're seeing their user behavior is.
Yeah, man. Math.
That's the theme of this show. Have you guys seen Sea of Thieves?
Why is this making the... What is so special about this?
Okay. Do you remember when Microsoft came out with, what was it called? What was the flight simulator? Flight Simulator was what it was called, yes.
Are you joking?
Yeah, it took me a second. I remember the first time I popped in that game being like, this is beautiful. This is the first time I've seen something like this. Sea of Thieves felt like that, except with you're a pirate on a ship.
Yeah.
It is one of the best renditions of water and islands and weather that I've seen in a long time. I watched... Will did a Twitch stream with some buddies where they played this, and it was totally enjoyable. And I think it's looking like one of Microsoft's most popular game betas in a long time.
Oh, so it's in beta right now.
I think the beta might have closed yesterday.
Okay.
So I don't think we've gotten full gameplay, but it's this, open world experience. But you have to trim the sails and, do all sorts of very intricate
ship
sailing.
Totally cooperative.
100% cooperative. There's some really chintzy stuff where people matched into groups they didn't want to be in, and they groups sent that person to the brig, and so they spent their entire game just in the prison, which is not fun.
That's
but
rough.
No VR support. What a missed opportunity.
do not play this game in VR. Like, you watch this game for 5 minutes, you'll be throwing. It's hard to play under normal circumstances. Playing in VR, you would be over the side,
Oh,
just
come
throwing
on.
up.
There's a yacht simulator that was just released in VR, and that's just, it's the same thing.
This was like violently up and down at points, like when you hit the storm.
All right.
It was quease inducing without the VR.
But what's newsworthy about this?
I just think it's an interesting game to highlight. We talk about games sometimes.
But this Ars Technica says it might finally have a forward-thinking game with Sea of Thieves. What does that mean?
I don't know what they mean by forward thinking. I just think it's an interesting game to check out. It's really different than any games I've played so far this year.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll play it with you.
Okay.
I think we'll play it together.
How many people do you need to man a ship?
4.
Oh, yeah, we got that.
Yeah, we can find that.
Okay.
All right. It's rare. Who's making it, right?
No. The company?
Isn't it rare?
Oh, that's cool.
I believe so.
Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't know they were still kicking it. Good for them. Diddy Kong Racing.
Yes, it is rare. So there you go. Amp up your excitement just a little bit. More video game talk. Nintendo Switch, which has sold very well, that's what we've been hearing, has now passed the lifetime sales of the Wii U.
Holy cow.
10 months in.
Jesus.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the Wii U is less than the Wii. So the next up, I suppose, is the Wii.
Wii and
Maybe-
Wii U are huge golf, I believe.
Or what?
Yeah, I don't think many people bought the Wii. Golf
Okay.
and sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe the GameCube is next.
That was fast, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, dude, 10 months.
Totally. I mean, and we've seen a ton of game announcements. We see a lot of game announcements. I don't see a lot of release dates. Like, I can't wait to play Inside on Switch. And
Why?
I don't know when. Because
Did you play it?
I haven't finished it.
Oh, okay.
And Switch would be a perfect place for me to play. But I know it's on iOS.
Sure.
But I want to use the thumbsticks.
All right. Do you wish it had longer battery life, though? Be honest.
Yes. Most of the time when I play it plugged into power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Short battery life.
Who doesn't say that about almost any electronic, though?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, this
Yeah.
is particularly short. This
Yeah,
is
no, I get that.
2-3 hours.
I think a battery pack is not unreasonable.
I
with
think
the Switch.
the way I treat the Switch is the battery is like a backup when I'm moving between place to place where I can't plug it in. Where plugging in is the default way to play it.
You know, can I just bring a bit of objectivity here to Super Mario Odyssey?
Are you accusing us of bias?
Because you love this game. Mike Micah gave it the Best Game of the Year award. Have you played it? I just don't get it. I mean, it's a fine game. But you compare it to Zelda, and it's like a generation difference. Zelda
They're
looks
different games.
It's not just the design. It's the graphics, it's the sound, it's the amount of brute force that went into modeling these worlds. It's like the weather effects. It's everything. There's so much better about everything about Zelda that I just feel like it feels like a different generation of console.
Well, I think I'd be fair. Zelda was built as an open world, so you get a lot of discoverability and a lot of benefits of the systems they built in. But if you look at the puzzle solving in the shrines in Zelda, I would say Mario Odyssey's puzzles are way more interesting than the shrine puzzles in Zelda.
Well, why do you say that? I mean, there's so many
Because the
shrines.
variety, because there are so many shrines.
Is it because the shrines are clearly puzzles? Like, you have entered a puzzle. Do you not like that?
Part of that, but also I thought Mario. There's way more joy and delight in the solving of Mario's puzzles, which are built into the world.
Yeah.
That every new world you go to, that world is itself a system of puzzles. Whereas the shrines are just like, you are in a puzzle room. They all look kind of the same. Yeah, there are some inventive things I think they do there.
Yeah.
But I had more fun in Mario Odyssey's puzzles than I did in the shrines. But
There's more at stake, though. I feel like there's more at stake with the shrines because of the weapon system that they deteriorate so quickly.
And
you want to beat those shrines to get the loot.
Yeah. And outside of the shrines, I completely agree. Zelda is far and away, I think, the more interesting game. The open world systems, the open world puzzles, right? Not the shrine puzzles,
right.
But the fact that you have to use environment and you have to be clever about the way you combine and mix and recipes and craft your weapons. Like That I feel like is much better.
And graphically, I think if you A/B this, you would agree with me.
It's so tough for me to say.
Really?
Because I think there's more variety in Mario Odyssey, just in the art style.
Yes.
So if you're saying from a pure technical standpoint, I agree Zelda being open world and all that grass and all that weather is phenomenal. And they both look great. And Zelda on the big screen looks amazing for especially for what it's running on, a Tegra processor.
Yeah.
But in terms of like diversity of worlds and just variety of what, there's just so much more in Odyssey. Every world is like a different game.
That's true. That's true.
Do you feel like
I feel heard.
You feel heard?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. That's it.
So you think it's not 10 out of 10? It's more like a 9.7.
You feel like it was overhyped. Is it even not even your favorite Mario game?
Oh, God, no. No. Whose favorite Mario game is Super Mario Odyssey?
There are many people who say it's the best Mario game.
What are you, Donald Trump?
Wow.
There are many
I don't
people.
even understand that insult. Does he hate Mario
No,
games?
but it's like, speak for yourself. Is it the best Mario? Okay.
It's not my favorite.
Okay.
Galaxy is my favorite.
Yes, I'm with you on that.
Galaxy is, but this feels like, and you feel like this does not step up from Galaxy the way Galaxy stepped up from the previous one, from 64.
God. Yeah, no.
There you go. Okay, I agree. I completely agree with that. I think Galaxy was such a big jump over 64 that this feels like iterative from Galaxy.
And Galaxy is certainly more linear, which you take it or leave it. I like it. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for hearing me out.
No problem. Back on the Switch, on Thingiverse, have you guys seen this? There's some cool 3D printable Joy-Con grips that make the individual, like this is like, I don't know anyone who plays this way. I know you can.
Yeah.
And if you have smaller hands, then it might be suitable for you, but you can take the Joy-Cons, of course, the two Joy-Cons on the left and the right side of the controller and turn them into their individual controllers. I think it's like a last resort, much like the battery. Much like the portability, it's kind of a last resort scenario. Otherwise, you'd be Bluetoothing and using your third-party controllers or your Pro controllers. But you can make those individual Joy-Cons more comfortable to hold with this 3D printable grip. I think you should try it out, Jeremy. Print one of these out.
It's good for kids, I imagine, because they got the right size hands for that.
Well, this adds the palm grips to the Joy-Cons, right, which I think are what's lacking. Right now, you're kind of scrunching over the tiny bar. And I never have the top bar pieces for the LR.
Oh, like this controller does that too.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it replaces the top and it replaces. Yeah. So you just have one thing you slide the Joy-Con into.
Very clever.
Yeah.
I have liked it, and I shall print it.
Very cool.
I didn't mean to call you Donald Trump.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. The first purge is coming real soon. And one last bit of tech story. Well, maybe two more, but let's talk about games and cheating.
This is only a test. Listener sent this to us. If you remember from last year, we all watched what was it, King of Kong and Fistful of Quarters?
No. The King of Kong is.
I think that's the same movie.
Yeah.
You mean the snake documentary?
Oh yeah, snake,
not snake. Nibbler.
Yes.
But we watch those documentaries, and a big character in this documentary is Twin Galaxies, and the
Man vs. Snake. Sorry.
And the founder of it, where they keep a lot of the game records, including a lot of the speed run records.
Yes. Walter Day.
Well, yes, Walter Day. Thank you for bringing that back. Well, there was a recent video that came out exposing one of the chief record holders as not being able to have achieved a number of the speed runs that are.
I watched this too. Did you watch this?
I did watch it.
It's a good video.
It's pretty damning evidence. Like to the point where they took apart machines, analyzed how quickly certain things could ever happen if it was executed perfectly, and records being below that number.
Yeah. The guy goes by the moniker Mr. Activision, so that he's held many of the Activision titles, including Dragster and Barnstorming, and apparently it's all fake. The guy who wrote his records into the books ended up being a criminal and went to jail. He was the guy who worked at Twin Galaxies.
So how were they faked?
They just made it up.
There were no tapes.
Well, the tapes were supposedly lost.
So it wasn't even like a clever hack
Or like photos of the screen of the time.
Nothing.
Had coffee stains on them, you know?
And there's some indication that he entered his own records
into the Twin
Galaxies database.
Twin Galaxies has been hacked.
Yeah. That's actually, he admitted to doing that at least once. And now, did you hear? His records have been stricken from the record.
They've been purged?
Good.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank
because
you,
of
Walter.
this video?
Days ago because of this video.
That's great.
How about that, right?
It's too bad that it took this level of depth of journalism to sort of bring that about, because some of these were obvious issues when people are like, this number is not possible.
Yeah, it's
not physically possible in this universe.
It's, you know, a lot of people will say like, who cares about this stuff? But you know, this is a real community with people
Walter Day
cares, and a lot of people in this community do care. And this is fun news.
Controversy.
If you want to watch the story, it's on YouTube. Search for the biggest cheater in gaming history.
That might be hyperbole, but I'll take it. Thanks, YouTube. One last thing, video game news. Did you see this? That John Romero confirmed via Twitter that Commander Keen and BJ, what's his name? Blazkowicz and the Doom guy are all related.
What?
Fan theory.
Cousins?
No. Generationally.
What do you mean? They're like father, son, grandfather?
Like ancestors.
Really?
I mean, Doom is in the future.
Yeah.
BJ Blazkowicz might be the grandfather
or
great grandfather of the Doom guy.
Now, where is that written?
In via John Romero's Twitter account.
The lore that is.
Yeah. From the one of the creators himself.
Wow. I didn't know that was a theory.
Now you do. And your life's a little better for it.
Fact.
All right. Before we move on to our next segment, I'm going to thank the other sponsor of this week's episode, and that's the podcast, The Art of Charm. It's an iTunes top 50 podcast that's packed with wisdom in the true sense of the word. From how to become more productive and professional to how to read body language, network, and negotiate. It's a show that basically covers anything that will help you become a high performer at home and at work. And with interesting discussions with people like Shaq, Russell Brand, Larry King, and Neil deGrasse Tyson, and Bill Nye, they discuss life hacking, success, and the relationships. It's a highly addictive podcast and strives to be fun and educational at the same time. And it's not stuffy college professor textbook stuff, because personal growth shouldn't be so boring all the time. So you deserve an extraordinary life. Go to theartofcharm.com/podcast or search The Art of Charm on iTunes, wherever you listen to podcasts, and start taking your life to a new level. And then thank them for sponsoring this week's episode.
Now it's time for a moment of science. Okay, a little science digression, and I have to channel my inner millennial here.
Oh.
So let me see if I can start talking like this. And I've had so much JOMO lately because I can't
missing out?
even tell you how excited I am about the new Diet Coke flavors.
Whoa. There we go.
The millennial inspired Diet Coke flavors that are AF. Are you guys ready to take part in a taste test with me?
Hell yeah.
Where would you like to start? I have 4 flavors. There's an orange flavor, there's a mango flavor, there's a cherry flavor,
Mango.
and a ginger lime flavor.
Oh, well, what do you recommend one over the others?
My Twitter reactions are up.
Why don't we taste all 4 and we'll each go one at a time?
Okay.
What do you think?
Well, help me.
Yeah, sure.
Help me dispense.
So this is part of the science segment, is it?
Well, sure.
I never thought it would be in what we've been testing.
Well,
Right.
wow, he's hating on it. So these new flavors come in a delightfully tall can, reminiscent of Red Bull, and they are. Whoa, I'm already spilling some stuff. They are just available in stores. I looked in many locations and I've only found one outlet.
We're gonna get confused if you do.
Wait, yeah. Hold
in
on.
San Francisco.
So let's talk about the flavors first of all. Okay, and we're gonna describe for people who are just listening to audio. These are tall boy cans. They are still they 16 ounce.
Kind of reminds me of Red
12.
Bull.
12 ounce. So still 12 ounce can. But yeah, they look like a Red Bull. So already you're attracting the millennial aesthetic with the Red Bull tall can
Huh.
in your grocery
Oh,
store.
but it is the same amount as a regular
12
ounce.
ounce.
That's
Exactly.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I am not. Well, this is like the future that Back to the Future promised us, right? Back to the Future 2. It was all kind of weird bottles and weird shapes.
Okay.
I would not be a fan of soda moving to this form factor permanently, though. Although, is there any science, Kishore? Does the shape of the can matter and affect the carbonation at all?
I don't know.
Like, is it technically more surface area? Taller can.
Yeah, it should be more.
It
surface
should?
area.
Shouldn't it be the same?
Surface area? No, same volume,
Same
but
volume.
surface area
More
is
surface area.
stretched out.
Fascinating.
But the inside of the can is lined with a pretty smooth surface, so you're not getting like the soda shouldn't nucleate and have a lot of fizz come out of solution, especially when it's under pressure.
But even when it's opened with the same size opening, the carbonation releases at the same rate.
Yeah, I don't think it will make a big difference.
Won't make a difference. All right.
It's a valiant effort.
So
I'm trying. So let's go with flavors first. This is the one I'm most interested with is the zesty. Why add the adjectives? I don't need your adjectives.
Because
Just
it's
be
millennial as
descriptive.
fuck, man.
Zesty blood orange for the blood moon.
Get
Here we
that
go.
aroma on the palate first. Oh yeah, that fake orange crush flavor. Really?
No, this is no
blended
good. This is Diet Coke, of course.
That's subtle. I expected more.
I waited too long. The carbonation was all gone.
I did not care for this orange flavor at all.
No,
it feels like
it's
an
gross.
orange crush mixed in with a Diet Coke. And so it is total phony and disgusting. How about a mango? A little bit different, a little more tropical.
Here we go.
A mango Diet Coke.
I'm excited about this one. Are they all going to have this stevia fake sweetness to them?
Yeah, it's called aspartame. This one is by far and away the worst. It tastes like a rotten mango that has thrown up inside of a Diet Coke container.
It does. Thank you. The visual help me understand the flavors.
We make shave ice at home sometimes, and it feels like they took the mango sweetener and just dunked it into the Diet
and
Coke.
put a little carbonation.
Yeah.
No good. I like dried mango candy. This is not good.
How about some feisty cherry?
Oh,
So I
this
did.
table.
I did a feisty cherry tasting alongside a Diet
You
Cherry
just
Coke.
smelled it, Jeremy. You got to drink it. Come on.
I can't do
You
it.
gotta do it.
Oh, it smells horrible.
I did a side-by-side comparison of feisty cherry and Diet Cherry Coke,
Oh,
and it's
oh.
pretty similar. You can't tell much of a difference between
No,
the
Diet
two.
Cherry Coke is so much better. Than
It is better, but it isn't a massive difference.
It's cough syrup.
It is. It is like it's the Tussin of Diet Cokes.
Yeah, exactly.
And
this
finally,
last one-
the ginger lime.
All right, I like ginger.
God, I gotta cleanse my palate.
Yeah, where's our palate cleanser here? Where's
Oh.
our cheese or
Oh,
crackers?
Diet Coke and cheese. Now, ginger lime is reminiscent of like, have you had the flu and you wanted a little like ginger ale to settle down your stomach, but you still want the buzz and the bitter aftertaste of a Diet Coke? This is your beverage
Is
for
that-
that moment.
That feels like the least sweet to me.
Yeah, I actually think this is technically the best one.
None of
all
them have the bite of Diet Coke.
But they have the hipster quality that we all love about Diet Coke.
No,
These
no,
are
no.
massively disappointing.
Please rate them from best to worst.
You were so excited about this.
I think from worst, let's go from worst to worser.
Okay.
Because I don't care for any of these. I think the best is the ginger lime. That's the one that you could probably finish an entire can of and not hate yourself in the morning.
No, I don't think I could finish an entire can of any of these.
I think feisty cherry is probably next because it's somewhat tolerable. Maybe you have a little phlegm in your throat. This will loosen it up a little bit. The blood orange, I think I would put third. It's simply it brings back a little nostalgia with that crush flavor, and then
Mango.
I think even in emergencies, you can't have the mango flavor.
It's death first.
It's deadly. It's deadly. It's awful. Good luck, Diet Coke, and I think I've probably thrown that sponsorship opportunity out the window.
Oh no, they should never release this to market. Now, how long will you think these will survive?
Not long.
You think it'll be a month and it'll be gone forever?
I
A
mean,
great mistake.
so I bought these today at a Walgreens, and they have like a display of them, and I didn't see a single person buy any of these. And I think I'm the only person on the past couple days that has bought any of these. And I realize that's a small data set, but I have not heard anything about these flavors being well received. It'll just continue to decline. On to some actual science. Did you guys wake up early this morning? We're recording this on Wednesday, and watch the super blood blue moon?
I did.
I did not get a chance to see it.
I did. I think probably people have all heard this. Blue moon is the worst term amongst all these, because blue moon only means there's 2 full moons in the same calendar month, so it has no meaning whatsoever. What I love about the super moon is that its origins of that term is from an astrologer, and she's super happy that everyone's using super moon. Super moon just relates to the
Thanks,
orbit
astrology.
Orbit of the moon being slightly closer to the Earth, and so the moon's slightly closer. But it's not appreciably bigger to us.
Even when it's lower towards the horizon.
But we're seeing diffraction of light, just like we do with the sunset.
I was expecting a bigger moon, I will admit.
Well, it was close to the horizon when we saw it at like 4:30 this morning. But I think the coolest part is the blood moon effect. The fact that we're seeing rays
Zelda.
of the sun diffract through the atmosphere and create that sort of sunset effect on the moon. Lunar eclipses are pretty common. You can see them in a lot of places, but it's just weird and awesome to see.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, can you tell me, and I'm embarrassed that I don't know this. This is one of those things where I'm embarrassed that I don't know, and in fact, I'm afraid to ask.
Okay.
But what is the difference between like a fully like new moon, which is like where the shadow's fully on top of the moon, and a lunar eclipse?
A new moon is a lunar eclipse is where like there's alignment of the sun, Earth, and the moon in a way that the Earth's shadow is being cast in a really specific area on the moon that blots it out.
And it passes. It's about 2 hours. It's over.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Whereas a new moon is just like a regular state that happens monthly, where the shadow of the Earth, part of a shadow of the Earth, covers up the moon. It's not in sort of full alignment, because it's only when there's that alignment do you get that red effect.
I guess I need a model.
Okay, we'll model this for you. Do you guys know people with the flu? This flu season has been pretty terrible.
Will Smith, out of commission.
This year's flu strain is related to the H3N2 virus, and there are various strains out there. And one of the reasons this season's flu is so bad is because H3N2 flu is really hard to treat. In fact, the vaccine that's developed is usually only about 33% effective against this flu strain. And usually how flu vaccines develop is that scientists get together, they decide what strain they think is going to come out this year, and develop a vaccine that's sort of a mix to guard against influenza A and B, and they sort of make an educated guess. When they knew it was this strain, they know in testing, and not for reasons that are altogether obvious, that their effectiveness is less. Also, the vaccine for H3N2 is harder to cultivate in eggs, which is how they developed the vaccine. All that being said, there are persistent ideas out there that you shouldn't get the flu shot because it's not effective this year. That is dumb. Like, get the flu shot. It's especially hardy this year. They're pointing to it evolving a little faster than normal because as it goes through a population, it sort of, mutates and changes over time. And this one has been incredibly deadly. There are stories even, here locally in San Jose of a healthy 40-year-old woman going into the ER and dying from the flu within 36 hours of contracting it. And it's just purely because the flu is very virulent. There's some associated factors. A lot of saline that's manufactured to treat flu victims when they come into the ER, manufactured in Puerto Rico. And Hurricane Maria knocked out a lot of that infrastructure, so there are some shortages related to that. There's some great stats in a Vox article that points to some CDC data showing how much more strong this flu season is based on hospital visits. And usually we'd get the peak of hospital visits around now, but it's still not too late to go get a flu shot. As of when we're recording this, we haven't peaked, and it's about 3 times more hospital visits than last year.
Wow. The vaccine is 4 months old or so by now, right? 4 or 5.
Yeah, you can usually start to get it around September or so.
Even more than that. All right.
Yeah. Let's talk about how scientists are reviewing products on Amazon. And Norm and I both saw this. This is great.
Was really great. So, yes, Amazon reviews can sometimes be helpful, can sometimes be hilarious for bad products, for example. But never have I seen it be this interesting. And on Twitter, scientists are sharing how they've been reviewing products that they've purchased on Amazon that were not intended for science, that they're using in their research.
There's some really funny ones. There's like tea strainers that are being used to putting ants inside of them to see how they sort of maneuver. My favorite is like they have these little suction balls that people often use to like suck out baby snot, and scientists use them to clean microscope slides.
Okay, nice.
I like that one. There's what was the one that was used to like extract samples from lizard cloacas? It was awesome. But there's a number of these tools that are being used just everyday Amazon products. That's what it was. There was one that used lambskin condoms to feed insects because it had like a porous membrane to let stuff through.
You can buy those?
Yes.
How about that?
We've seen that with mosquitoes.
If you want to look at this, hashtag review for science, a great place to check out some of these reviews, and hopefully they'll be agglomerated somewhere soon after that. A couple more quick stories. 3 years ago, a scientist started a challenge called the DNA Storage Challenge, where he encoded a hash inside of DNA.
A string of numbers
and letters. And the hash was his Bitcoin encryption key. And after 3 years, just last week, a scientist was able to decode it and collect the Bitcoin.
Oh, wow. Was that the intention?
The intention was really about the academic exercise of showing that DNA can be used for storage for information, which we've known about for a number of years.
But he didn't mean to encrypt it forever. He meant for it to be discovered.
He meant for it to be discovered.
Very cool.
But as the Bitcoin price came up, all of a sudden more labs were like, oh, we should just do this.
Wow,
right?
The prize money went up.
The prize money just totally went up.
How many Bitcoin?
It was just one Bitcoin.
Oh, okay.
But bought
Kept
three years ago for a couple $100 is now worth $10,000.
Well, it was worth
and
almost $20,000.
The only reason it happened was it was sort of forgotten, and then he tweeted a reminder about the challenge, and then a couple weeks later, somebody had decoded it.
Nice. That's well worth time well spent decoding some DNA.
I think it's the best Bitcoin story out there. A couple quick promotional things. If you live in the San Francisco Bay Area, the City Arts and Lecture Series starts. Science series starts next week, and there's a few tested faces on. Adam is interviewing David Lynch.
What?
That's on, I think, February 12th, I want to say. And they're talking about David Lynch goes around and talks about meditation everywhere he goes. And they're having a conversation about meditation, including some of the science on that. Oh, sorry, February 13th. On March 14th, I'm talking to former EPA Administrator Gina McCarthy. And then my Science in Progress host, Indre Viscontis, is talking at the end of March with AI pioneer Kate Crawford. So if you're in the Bay Area, check those out.
All right. The VR Minute. Virtual reality this week. All right. Since we recorded the podcast last week, Jeremy, you and I were able to do something interesting. We got to use the HTC Vive Pro.
Yep. not too late to try the HTC Vive Pro. It was
Totally.
awesome. It was good.
Yes.
We went to the HTC local office. which,
Yes,
thank
where they have
goodness,
their ViveX incubator.
We're glad that they have that here in San Francisco.
And we shared our impressions on projections, which you guys can watch, and all the details, all the differences between the current Vive and the Vive Pro, and something that we shot our impressions like right after getting the demo.
Yep.
So we've had a few more days to think about what we thought about this headset. And the thing I keep coming back to is once this headset comes out, and if I use it, I'm not going to go back.
Yeah, I wonder.
I'm going to quickly adapt to the high resolution and see that as a new standard.
At the very least, you're going to notice those pixels on the original
On the old
Vive
ones.
and the Rift.
Yeah. And I just want more resolution. I just want more and more. And it's
even more.
I want even more.
Yeah.
And I know it's not practical in many senses in terms of graphic capability, in terms of standardization and mass market. But if your GPUs can handle it, and if they're gonna get us to 4K, I hope that if this is the year of 3K headsets, if the Vive Pro is 2880 by 1600. Then next year will be the year of 4K headsets.
We talked about this a couple weeks ago when the announcement was made. Do you have any sense of if you're a original Vive, a consumer, you didn't buy like the head strap, what price does this need to be at for you to actually want to upgrade? Because everyone's talked about how the resolution's worth it. Everyone's talked about how it's more comfortable, especially if you're going from the Vive to this. Where does that number need to come in? Because we still don't know.
I think it should be in the 400 range, but I feel like everyone's gonna. I think it's gonna be 500.
Oh, you do? You think 500?
I think it will be, but I want it to be 400.
Great, because I think it will be more than 5, and I'm hoping for 5.
Wow.
Just because it's it's the Pro. And they were very clear. We spoke to the developers, and they were very clear that this was made for the professional market. Like, the gamers alone did not make this happen.
Right. It's businesses that maybe have more money, where the difference between $400 and $500 headset is not as meaningful to them.
And it's not just about that higher resolution. It's also about the bigger tracking volume with the new support for the Steam VR 2.0 standard.
Right. Which that's not built. That wouldn't be built into the price of just the headset. You need to get new beacons.
Yeah. Which
they haven't announced any release dates for those yet either.
I think part of the problem here is that there's really no secondary market for your original Vive without the lighthouses. So you're going to keep those. So you can't just go and turn around and sell your original headset.
But you can use both.
What?
You just have another computer.
Oh,
you'd have built-in multiplayer because you need one set of lighthouses for.
I don't think he understood the premise of your.
I mean,
I'm not saying they're not going to sit on the shelf.
I'm saying it's hard to justify $500 if you can't recoup some of that by selling the old one.
Sure. Yes. And controllers too, because we're talking about potentially just the headset initially.
Yeah.
For enthusiasts, for gamers.
I mean, that said,
it's a lot of money.
VR is an expensive hobby, and there's a lot of people out there who are going to have no trouble dropping whatever it costs for this higher resolution headset.
The bigger fear is that if someone wants to invest $500, which is more than what the Oculus Rift setup is right now, and this is not for someone to jump onto the Vive who is on a Rift. This is for people who probably have existing Vive headsets who want the next step upgrade. The fear is that there's going to be something better right around the corner. And it doesn't sound like that's the case if Oculus has said that they're not going to put a headset out this year.
A Rift, anyway.
A Rift in 2018. We'll see the Go, and Santa Cruz maybe the year after that or whatever. And HTC has their mobile, their what used to be the Daydream headset. They have their mobile one. But this could be, outside of course, your Pimax headsets, the best VR experience, relatively mass market VR experience you're going to get for at least a year.
Yeah.
So at that point, I think
without the field of view issues, I mean the weird warping that you might get with the Pimax.
Right. At that point, $500 I think it's expensive, but it's not unreasonable for the good audio, and especially if you didn't have the deluxe audio head strap, and now you're going to jump and you're going to get ergonomic improvements.
Yeah.
And who knows what they're going to do with those cameras? So that's the other big question.
I think we're gonna know in the next week or two.
I think it'll be soon. Also.
Did you get any hints when you were there?
Only that they were going to soon have developers share some of their things, which means that they there is functionality, and it's not just
pass through.
It's not just pass through. And unfortunately, so Engadget had a report. They had interaction with some of the HTC executives in Shenzhen, and it was indicated to them that these stereo cameras were not designed for wider field of view pass through, higher quality pass through AR style functionality. That they were instead a development tool that they would have some SDK for developers then to have some type of maybe hand recognition with it. But even then, it would be different than like what the Pimax does with Leap Motion, or even sticking your own Leap Motion on a headset, because Leap Motion can do skeletal tracking.
Yeah.
It's not optical sensing.
And a very wide field of view.
Very wide field of view, optical tracking, and skeletal modeling with their, I guess it's infrared.
Yeah.
Sensors with a stereo camera system. Yes, you get the benefit of getting some type of, hopefully some stereoscopy 3D pass-through chaperone as an option. But if you're able to track hands, or at least see hands, and put the hands in like a teleconferencing environment, that makes some sense. But if the hands can't do anything, like if you can't model your fingers and have interactions, it's not going to be that exciting.
Yeah.
I'm also curious because Knuckles doesn't feel that far away based on what we've seen with like the prototypes and what we've heard out of them. Why the hand tracking? Because you'll get better performance out of having Knuckles, right? So why
hand tracking? I guess there's a difference between hand tracking, hand presence, and also the degrees of tracking, right? Mm-hmm. Knuckles is very fine, granular sensing of your hands with the tactile feedback of being able to grab something. There's benefit to that. On the other side, you have like the Leap Motion style, which is skeletal modeling, and the Leap Motion demos we've tried with VR have been extremely compelling because they give you a really strong sense of hand presence, because you can see a version of your hand without having to hold anything, which I think has some benefits of just free form hand movement, with gestures.
Think like Minority Report.
Sure. Or even be able to point at something.
Yeah.
And where for social applications, some type of chat room, some type of teleconferencing, being able to just see another person's hands, see them visually, whereas the system might not be able to track where the fingers are, but able to see someone's gestures is very important. It's something that we benefit from using in big screen with the touch controllers. But if you don't have skeletal modeling, then your interaction models are much more limited. You can't pick up virtual objects, touch virtual buttons. So we don't know just where this system lies in that spectrum.
Norm asked them about Knuckles briefly, and they didn't have much to say about it. But that is being developed by Valve. Like, that's not an HTC product yet. So I don't think we're as close as you indicate. I think we might be a ways off from Knuckles.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at. I'm like, does this mean that we are farther away than we think we are?
Yeah, because they announced when this does eventually come out with controllers, it will look identical to the Vive wands, except blue. With the new trackers.
Right, totally. And then some other news. Doom VFR. Big patch to Doom VFR.
Oh, yeah? What'd they do?
Well, they added Windows mixed reality support officially. So still no official support for Oculus, so you can work around that. And they added smooth locomotion.
Oh, wow.
As built in. Yeah, people wanted it. It's mostly a movement. You have a weapon pitch option to adjust the angle of the weapon on the controller, which I think is important because everyone holds their controllers a little bit differently. And you can do smooth movement with different speeds and also jumping and even dashing when that's on.
Seems like you can jump back and forth from gamepad control if you want to. It says add a jump to gamepad controller scheme.
That's good.
Maybe they just added jump.
jump in
the
gamepad controller, which you can do before. A couple more things. Sprint Vector.
That's had a really popular beta. Like, there's been some buzz on Reddit about this. We've played it a couple times at conventions.
And it's changed dramatically. It's felt more robust every time and more like a bigger game every time we've seen it. This is from Servios, the makers of Raw Data, and it couldn't be more of a different game as opposed to being
Yeah.
wave-based multiplayer combat game. It is a competitive racing game, and it's being released on the 3 major platforms: Rift, Vive, and PSVR on the 8th, February 8th for the Vive and Rift, and February 13th for PSVR. So that's soon.
I think this is going to be a game that really gets a reputation for being a workout. I think this will be people's workout. Like, they will play Sprint Vector to go and
I can't wait.
get some cardio.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I want to get good at this game. It's going to be a game.
It's one of those games that is not It's not comfortable. It's not going to have that nice rating. It's going to be either intermediate or intense, because it's definitely one of those games that takes a little bit of getting used to. There's a lot of motion to it.
And I suppose you could still play by yourself and just compete against yourself and get better over time.
Totally.
But we have the most fun with it using it in a competitive environment.
Well, you've had fun because you've won.
Well, you can always get better.
I have never won.
You will. Yeah, I'm sure you will get better.
Me too.
Yeah. You think you'll be playing it on Rift or Vive?
That's a good question. Probably Vive, just because that's in my living room.
This is a system where TPcast might have a wireless solution, might have real benefits, huge benefits, because you are.
It's not room scale, but you are moving your arms a lot,
and you don't want to have cables with how you're moving in this game.
Well, you're not moving your feet. You're like moving your arms in every direction.
No, but I think like even the cables hanging off your back
country
might still.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for you to make your VR room. Tether the cable to the ceiling.
I have wireless now.
Oh, that's true.
I don't need it. I don't need the VR room.
Wow.
I just need.
Every room is a VR room.
That's right. I just need to set up. I just need to lock in my lighthouses, actually. And then one final bit. There's an insinuation that Santa Cruz, which is who knows when that's coming out. When we use it at Oculus Connect, it had the touchpads, and while Nate Mitchell from Oculus told us that those weren't finalized and everyone was hopeful that they might go with some thumbsticks, it seems more and more likely, at least if you read between the lines, that they're going to stick with those touchpads. There was a post on Reddit which analyzing one of their state of standalone VR sessions that Oculus had run, and if you listen closely, they really have developed it to optimize for touchpad control.
Well, okay, but is that the way forward for standalone?
Rift 2.
I mean, is that indicative of where standalone will be? Because eventually we want standalone to be as powerful as the Rift.
So you think your argument is that touch is not as powerful. A touchpad is not as powerful as an analog stick.
Right. I mean, they've decided that analog stick is best for the high-end model for the Rift, and they've designed all the games to incorporate analog sticks, and it does so well. Now, obviously, it can be done with touchpads too, but I think there's an argument to be made that the joystick provides better haptic feedback, and it's just a better interface. You can feel it more. And so is this a bad precedent? If that's true, is this a bad precedent for standalone VR, and will they have to pivot one day and confuse the whole market?
That's a really good question. I could see a world where thumbsticks and touchpads, neither of those are used, maybe.
Wow.
The touchpad is really the modern version of the trackball.
Yep.
Right?
Okay.
I mean, it's how
Valve... But we have touchpads on our
right, but
laptops.
I'm saying for the thumb. Right?
Yeah.
The thumb touchpad control on VR controllers is the non-mechanical version of the trackball. And the benefits of having a thumb stick is the precision you get in that analog thumbstick control. So it's a question of whether games are going to require that, which it makes sense, and it's very useful for many games, especially when you're talking about still needing to locomote using a thick stick in some way. But if we're talking about hand interactions and hand presence, I don't think a thumbstick is 100% necessary.
I think this just comes down to which store do they want to support. And this is all about supporting the Gear VR library. This is the exact same interface that people will have had coming from the little hand controller for that. And I just imagine that's
more casual content.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
If they wanted to support the Rift library, which this won't be able to run, I understand that. But they're bringing games to it like Dead and Buried. I mean, they are trying to do that. I would think that they'd go with analog stick. It's interesting. There's actually, you mentioned Thingiverse earlier for the what was it, for the Rift or
Switch?
The Switch. There is a thing on there for the Vive that
Adds a thumbstick.
adds a joystick, like a little thumbstick, to the touchpad using a plastic spring mechanism.
Right. And yeah. I don't see Oculus releasing interchangeable models. I think you're right. You're going to go with one or the other. And I think the fear, as you put it, isn't that the touchpad is going to be good or bad for Santa Cruz. It's going to be what does it mean for Rift 2
Yes.
going forward? And we just don't know. I think developers probably have a lot to say about that. If developers feel like they can't make their games, the AAA games, without thumbstick control, and they have to do and touchpad as a compromise, maybe Oculus will hear that and change their plans that way.
Well,
And maybe that will be a splitting off of interfaces. Testing this week. Hey, what have you guys been testing?
Oh, I'm up first, huh?
Yeah, you are, Kishore.
This is called a pen, and I'm actually going to turn it into a real pen. Do you know what this is from?
Is it a plant?
It is not a plant.
Is it a lambskin condom?
Interesting guess. This is the top of what is essentially the spine of a squid.
Ooh.
And it's called a pen, and it's slightly cracked here, but it's basically at where you think their head would be, even though that's not where their head is, at the very top, and it extends down to where their mouth would be. And this is made of a protein called chitin, which turns into kind of a plastic field. You can feel it.
Wow.
That was inside of a squid up until last night when we dissected it out.
Gosh. Oh, it smells like seaweed.
Yeah.
You don't want to touch it?
No. Oh.
It's like, so the actual protein called chitin actually feels like plastic. And what's amazing is that it can build
It's heavy.
proteins like this and actually have very different translucent and feel from the same material as it gets out to the edge. But what I love about it is that it looks kind of like a quill pen, and I'm going to try to turn it into one.
Oh, how about that? All right, very good. Well, if you can't beat them, join them. I am mining coins on my computers. I put them to work. So
That's it. We're done.
why not? Why not? So I found there's this software called Awesome Miner. Okay, it's a nice GUI interface and I have attached it to this place called Mining Pool Hub.
Okay.
And the magic of Mining Pool Hub is it decides what to mine for me. I don't have to make any decisions about it.
Wait. So you're literally downloading one program, running it, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, a couple programs. I mean, it's all very text filey on some level, but they make it as friendly as possible. Mining Pool Hub, they have these different algorithms, and there's like a thing that decides every half hour what's the most valuable coin to mine, and it just does that.
You're trusting another system.
Why? I'm not gonna do the research.
Okay.
Do you know what your ROI is going to be? Based on the energy usage?
And then let's
You can
talk about
calculate
what
that.
you're running it on. What are you running it on?
I have a 1080 GTX, which I got at retail price.
You bought a $600 GPU
Yeah.
to mine Bitcoin,
Well, no, to VR proof myself.
and then when you're not in VR, you're mining.
Well, why not? It's there. And so, I took my old video card and I put it in the another computer. So now there's two old 980s in there. So those are running, and the 1080 is running when I'm not using that computer.
You're running dual 980s mining Bitcoin.
Yeah, and a 1080, and it's like a cool $7 a day.
In what currency?
Well, it's whatever currency is currently being mined. So it averages around like $6-7 a day.
And it shows you in the app like
what you're
you've
mining.
made
I'm probably
the equivalent of $7 a day, and you're like, let me trade that.
It's not about the day, Norm. It's about the month. So you figure it's like $200 in a month, maybe more.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, so that's what
You're
I'm saying.
paying for your video card in 3 months.
There you go.
That's it after your electricity expense?
No, but you can calculate that. The electricity is probably a fifth of that.
Wow.
And then off it goes. It gets automatically converted into whatever I want. It happens to be Litecoin, and then Litecoin gets transferred over to Coinbase, where I can change it to dollars. Bam.
Wow. Okay. And you are mining. What you're unearthing are actual full coins or fractions of a coin. Because you're participating in.
I'm in a pool, so
in a
yeah,
pool. Got
we're probably getting transaction fees, and one of us mines a coin, we all benefit. Mm-hmm. I have no idea.
Right, it's automated.
Yeah. Wow. But it does turn those fans on in the GPUs.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah, if we were living in a real a city with real weather, with real winter, then that might make more sense.
Crowd around the computer.
Exactly. Oh, we're making money and getting warm. This is the best of all possible worlds. Instead of we're in San Francisco where it's 70, 80 degrees.
It's been fun. It's been fun to learn some of this. See how it works.
Yes. Yeah. No, definitely. And we may be, we're laughing now, but
Yeah, if Jeremy starts
1 year later, you might
showing up
you
on
might
the
have
podcast.
you might have $10,000 worth of Bitcoin or whatever it is.
No.
Because you're also betting on growth.
Well, it does, like the value, and I now realize why. Like we talked last week how the number of people mining has gone up despite Bitcoin coming down almost in half from 20,000 to about 10,000 per Bitcoin.
Sure.
And that's because it is like still definitely profitable. It doesn't matter where Bitcoin is along that trajectory. It's still profitable. You still get ROI, as you said, in a couple months or 3 months if you get a card at retail. And so it's profitable. Now, if Bitcoin continues to drop, then that's when it becomes less and less profitable.
And that's if you're talking about Bitcoin proper and not.
Well, that's
any of
because
the,
everything trades
alternative
against
coins.
Bitcoin. Like the dollar value of any altcoin is measured against Bitcoin.
Oh, that's like the U.S. dollar.
Because you have to trade through it.
Oh.
Yeah, in order to get it back into dollars, you have to
People
go through
exchanges
Bitcoin.
won't do altcoin to altcoin.
They won't do altcoin to dollar, to U.S. dollar.
Got it.
Unless it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash.
Wow, I can't believe we're seriously talking about this when
I stopped listening.
5 years ago we were laughing at the prospect. We were trying to understand what Bitcoin is. It just shows how quickly.
No, we
the
talked
world
about how
changes.
you doubled your money by buying a Bitcoin at $500, selling it at $1,000.
That sounds like a joke. Now that's the variability of Bitcoin in what, like 2 days or something.
Well, gosh, if it hit 1,000 nowadays, that'd be either bad news or a heck of an opportunity.
Depends what your gambling gene is. One last thing I wanted to bring up is we talked about the Netflix show The Toys That Made Us, and it reminded me that I had this book that I took off my bookshelf that I picked up at a Star Wars celebration. That's a perfect complement to this show. It's called Gus and Duncan's Guide to Star Wars Prototypes. It's these two uber fans of the Kenner toys and of all Star Wars collectibles. They actually have another book that's just a catalog of every Star Wars collectible ever made. But this one specifically is about the prototypes. So they collect not just the production units, but they have hunted and scoured the secondary markets for anything related to the development of the Kenner action figures and even the minifigures and large-scale figures. So this book has really great photos of their collections and descriptions of what these objects are, including from reference images from Lucasfilm, the wax, the original. They have in their possession many original wax sculpts of the very first sculpts of those toys that survived the very first silicone molds. So you see, like, for example, the Emperor Palpatine's face. You see much more detailed. Chewie's face, his hair in the wax sculpt is much more detailed than what you see in the production units. And from the wax sculpt, you get the silicone mold, then you get the first urethane casting, the first shot, they call it, then the paint master, then the tooling, metal tooling, steel tooling, then the final units. And so all of that, as much of it is documented here as possible, including some never before seen prototype toys that never made it to market. And so if you're a fan of Star Wars collectibles, I highly recommend this book. I think they have it for like $40 on their website. And it's you can just Google search Gus and Duncan's Guide to Star Wars Prototypes.
Yeah, very cool.
That's my recommendation for this week. And I think that does it for us for this episode of Listen Only Test. We'll be back next week as we talk about some Super Bowl commercials and how the Patriots blew it for the first time in a long time.
Let's hope so.
The end of an era, right? End of an era. And we have an outro this week?
We do, from Mike Buccaroni.
All right.
Buccaroni.
Hi there, I didn't see you.
Test it.
We all want one thing.
What?
Tom Bombadil. Did you read the book?
Test it.
So check this out. They squids have suckers,
Yeah.
And inside the suckers, they actually have these barbed little teeth
Oh my.
that are designed to bring the food towards their little beak mouth. And it's these sharp things. So it's not like a sucker as you would initially associate
That's
to.
a sucker
It's a
they'll
grabber.
carry
It's
up.
a grabber. It's not that sharp, but you should check it out.
Nice.
No.
See you guys. Bye.